A very good morning, my dear Silent Rose family. Today is Valentine's Day, a day to cherish all the love that God has given you and also the love that God asks us to share with our neighbors. This is one of those days where Instagram and Facebook is probably going to be flooded with posts of grand gestures of people's profession of their love for somebody. I'm sure there'll be wine, chocolates, roses. If we're really lucky, we might even come across some poetry. But if we closely look into the life story of today's patron saint, that is Saint Valentine, you will notice that we are called to a much higher form of love. A form of love that is above all these gestures. A form of love that mirrors sacrifice and a love for God. In Father Mike's Bible in a Year podcast, there was this day where we read about the time when God asks Abraham to sacrifice his only son Isaac. And in that episode, Father Mike says this very interesting thing. He says love and sacrifice are very closely associated to each other. In order to love God, we must sacrifice our first fruits or something else that we hold close to our hearts. So just as an example, think about the many times your mother has given away her piece of cake or fish fry simply because it was the last one there and you've been eyeing it for a while. But your mother wants you to have it. Or let's think about a pregnancy. For a woman, she sacrifices her body, her looks, her energy, and she goes through a lot of pain at the end of it. Similarly, for a man, as he becomes a father, he sacrifices his own needs to put the needs of his family first. And all these sacrifices, all that pain and that suffering that is undergone with lots of love, brings into the world a beautiful new God-given life. This Valentine's Day, while we remember all the happily married couples or engaged couples or just couples, let's also think about the singles out there who are waiting and discerning. Let's say a small prayer for them also. And singles, most definitely pray for your future spouse, for their spiritual growth, for their good and bad days, for their families. Oftentimes, the long wait for a spouse, or just hearing a no from a potential somebody, or the many Valentine's days that you spent as a single can all make you jaded and can sometimes give us a heart of stone, right? But this is where we must remember something from the book of Ezekiel, chapter 36, verse 26, which says, I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. I will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. A heart of flesh that beats for God and also for your near and dear ones around you. A heart of stone cannot love. There is only neglect in it, this very don't care-ish attitude. But a heart of flesh that is given to you by God, it cares and embraces. It calls us to set aside our sorrows and to just unconditionally love. Our Lord, even on the cross, with lots of love, prayed for those who persecuted him or rejected him. That kind of love can really change somebody's life. Saint Valentine's story, too, is a true testament to that. At a time when Christians in Rome were oppressed by the oppressive Roman Emperor Claudius II, Saint Valentine still dedicated his life and mission to the Lord and his people. The punishment at the time was death to Christians, but he still worked hard for the redemption of many souls. Eventually, the emperor had Saint Valentine arrested as well. But even in prison, Saint Valentine continued to do God's work. He preached, he healed, he did everything he could possibly do for God even then. On one such day, Saint Valentine got to meet the jail warden, and the jail warden had brought his beautiful little daughter Julia, who was blind from birth. And the jail warden wanted to ask Saint Valentine if there was any way that Julia could be healed. And Saint Valentine agreed to pray and to spend time with Julia and the Lord in prayer and to ask and beseech the Lord for that healing. And so one such day, when Saint Valentine and Julia were praying, Julia asks Saint Valentine, "Does God really hear our prayers?" To which Saint Valentine replied, "Yes, my child, he hears each and every one of us." And this is when Julia said something very beautiful. She says, "Do you know what I pray for every morning and night? I pray that I might see. I want so much to see everything you've told me about." And this is when Saint Valentine replies, "God does what is best for us if we really truly believe in Him." On the eve of his death, Saint Valentine wrote a last farewell note to little Julia, as he knew that his execution was imminent the next day. And after he quickly jotted down this farewell note, he requested the jailer to give this note to his blind daughter. In that note, Saint Valentine urges her to always stay close to God, to hold Him very close in prayer. And he signed it, "From your Valentine." In this sign, all he was mentioning was his name, "From your Valentine," and it is a testament to that beautiful, true friendship that had grown between Saint Valentine and little Julia. Now, when the jailer went home and he was greeted by his little girl, little Julia opened the note and discovered a yellow crocus inside. It seems like the crocus is a little flower. And she read the message that was signed, "From your Valentine." As the little girl looked down upon that crocus that had fallen into her palm, she suddenly saw brilliant colors for the first time in her life. The girl's eyesight was restored. And so you see, this is another classic example of how the one selfless act of love, of friendship, of a firm belief in God restored eyesight to a girl that was blind from birth. That is the true power of God's sacrificial love. And so, my dear friends, thank you so much for joining me today. I wish all of you a very happy Valentine's Day, and don't forget to let your near and dear ones know how much you love them. God bless. Have a wonderful day.